So, knowledge opposite ignorance, and ignorance is misunderstanding, error in perception. We discussed last time, you see that it is my experience. I see the mirage water, but the knowledge says it is wrong. Earth is stationary, but I say it is wrong. Mind, our mind, when it is immature, it relies more on experience than the knowledge. Even when we have an ability to have the right knowledge, you see, look at these teachings of the masters. Look at another perspective. Mosquito, elephant, tiger, they all have bodies, so we also have a body. But the body is made up of the same stuff. Life force is the same. Animal mind is the same. We don't use the intellect. We have a chance to use. We have a choice to use. We have a chance. That intellect is always available to see all those options and make a right choice about understanding who am I. And we don't do it. So when we don't do it, then what the Bill Gates says is right. I lived loveless life for 27 years. Yes, you will definitely live your loveless life for 27 years. Who says you are not right? And many comments comes, yes, you see that, such a great person, statesman, businessman, inventor of the computer is suffering because of the wife. No, it is because of I had a chance, I did not make the right choice.
But any experience is false.
Yes, any experience, all the experiences takes place in the mind. That's another step. You are right. All experiences takes place in the mind. Why? Real self is pure consciousness. It does not need any experience. It doesn't need. It is already in peace and happiness. It is the nature of the peace and happiness. How dare the sugar desires for sweetness? Its nature is sweetness. The nature of the real self is peace and happiness. So, what we are doing by listening to this, so the master creates a doubt with a right reasoning to understand our own mind. That is the message. Message is that why I am not doing the right thing. So who is this I? This I is the mind. Or you can say the ego. Why you are not doing the things right? Why don't you challenge all your experiences to check which one takes me to the right path? You see your honey having a big face and reacting to you. That is my experience. I don't judge. I don't check. I don't observe whether her sadness or his or her reaction, what knowledge is hidden. he or she is demanding something that I am not able to fulfill. That is the knowledge. That is the knowledge, but my experience tells me totally different things, so I react because you are reacting. Look, these principles are relevant everywhere in all the situation, in our personal life, in our professional life, in our social life. Your employer, your employee says, "No, I cannot do it, boss. You are always pushing me." But I don't recognize that employee does not have an ability. I don't recognize it. So what I do, my mind says, "How dare you challenge me? Get out. Laid off." You tell me any situation, any condition, any person, any relations where the Eastern wisdom cannot be applied. So why we are talking of today, what we are talking today is that we are asking the mind, don't live while sleeping. Don't work unconsciously. Don't work habitually. Don't work impulsively. First know it. First understand it. Extract the knowledge. Let the knowledge rule over your impulsive mind, habitual mind, unconscious mind. That is totally based on all our experiences. Challenge every experience that you have. Yesterday I could sleep only for 1 hour because contemplation was going on, reflection. So mind returned with a greater force. "Oh, you are not sleeping. How can you give the classes? Why shouldn't I?" I challenged. I said, "That is your experience, but my knowledge says something else. That you can maintain that awareness all the time." And it happened in the morning. Everything is good. No, no, mind said you will feel heaviness. There is no heaviness. Millions of impressions in the mind rules my life. And those impressions are my experiences, and experience is different than the knowledge. Upanishad says, "Asato ma satagame." So now if we are a non-seeker, now seek another person, then when we are a non-seeker, we will give you, the teacher gives you a lot of mantra. "Oh, what is the best mantra?" One woman asked me. I said, "Are you the best? First check yourself." She did not agree. She is very close to me, and I said, "Om Namah Shivaya is the greatest mantra." "Ah, do you agree that?" "Yes." I said, "Yes, that is the greatest mantra." So after a few months, it happened almost last year. So after a few months, she told me that you were insisting me. Now I realize that it is the person who does the mantra meditation has to be stronger. I find these experiences every day in my life when people approach me. So, what is the message again? Understand that Master Upanishad says, first go ahead, mantra, asana, pranayama, breathing, this, that, thousands of practices are there. You do whatever you do kundalini. Uh, your kundalini is awakened, very good, remain awakened. So, to a non seeker who is just starting to become a seeker, we say, "Go ahead, continue doing it. I will give you more difficult and challenging practices to you. Challenge So, what is hidden in that challenge? We are challenging the mind. We are challenging the past impressions, are replaced by the new impressions. But if you rely only on the experiences, then you will deviate from the path. Look at it. So, can I say that with just as a joke and also as a fact that in the beginning, when a person starts the journey of the Eastern wisdom, his mind is full of the past impressions until we create a confusion in that mind will not start self discovery. So we create a lot of confusion. Oh, this practice, yes. So now I see when you are talking to me about the practice, I definitely praise it. I appreciate it. Oh, go ahead, do it. What is the basis of doing your practice? You had a good experience, you liked it. The problem of liking and disliking in the mind is the cause of ignorance. Likes, dislikes, I keep on thinking about attachment and detachment. So that I am attached to something, so I project happiness outside. Finish, the goal is done. You keep on doing the practice until I become aware that what the hell I'm doing. So I briefed it. Perhaps last week I said, I am saying you are real self. Does your mind also declare that I am real self? No, you told me that I am real self. Because my mind does not want to agree on that. It contains the doubt. So it perceives as if real self is different than the me. No, you are real self. When it will happen, when the mind is totally pure, it is reflecting the knowledge, and then the mind, same mind says, I'm the real self, I'm the consciousness. Finished. So how the master realizes, you start asking the big questions. What is a big question? Take one example. I get pleasure by eating pasta because I like it. So what is the big question? Is the pleasure is there in the pasta? Or is the pleasure is there in the mind? If it is in the mind, I can create pleasure by liking anything in the world.
Yep.
So it means all experiences of my pleasure, including the pain, I have to examine them. I have to find them whether there is a pain or not, whether there is a pleasure or not. I don't do it. So when I don't do it, then what happens? Buddha says you are living in your own samsara. That is the cause of your suffering. Why don't you examine? You have a choice. You're a human being. You have a free intellect that can receive and retain the knowledge, that can realize it. Go on the journey of a knowledge. Only one question: who am I? There are people who are God gifted since their birth. They are not in touch with the Eastern wisdom outside, but they are in touch with the Eastern wisdom inside because of their impressions, like the Buddha went outside to take a tour of the kingdom and he saw the dead man big question, was everyone die? That everyone asked. But he asked that will I also die? I am the body. We see a lot of people die every day. Who cares? The mind has a delusion that at least God will save me. I will not die. In both the cases, there is an ignorance. I will not die, so I am the body. We need a lot of contemplation and reflection after receiving the knowledge. Same thing with the sick man, he saw it and ultimately, I will also become sick, yes. So that I was a ego identifying with the body. He left that identification, the samsara came to an end. And when we have that level of awareness, I can instantly point out the mind. Mind, you are moving in a wrong direction. You have a misunderstanding. Let me change my perspective. Then what happens? I loosen the burden of identification with the body. Yesterday night I told you, mind was so much deeply attached to the body. What will happen if you feel the heaviness of the body? Heaviness in the head. So, heaviness in the head is the body. I want to tell you something more. Because of these past impressions, returns in my mind in the format of a memory, and that memory, the moment I think that I will feel heaviness and I allow that feeling and the experience returning from the memory, I will feel heaviness. Otherwise, there is no question of heaviness. Then the master warns that during this journey of practicing mantra, mudra, kundalini, etc., it results into variety of experiences and many powers. What do you mean by power? My mind has started working beyond the range of normal range of the mind. That is power. That is because the mind has become pure, so it can read the thoughts. It can, yeah, those powers are always there. No issue is there. But when I get carried away by these powers and the visions, then I again become a non seeker. I have started the journey for many years. Now I am totally clinging to those powers and the visions. Those powers and the visions are my experiences. I don't examine whether these experiences confirms the knowledge of the real self or not, and then I get carried away. I told you before also that guy who came to me in New Jersey. He said, I normally ask, why you are coming to my session? Then I want to do meditation. But why you want to do meditation? So he told me that I always communicate with one God, Jesus Christ. I said, very good. Then where is the problem? I have a lot of stress. I said, communicate with the Jesus Christ and ask him to release your stress. There is no need of practicing meditation. You are wasting your time. So he looked at me and he said, no, tell me if my logic is wrong, if my reasoning is wrong. So you are telling me something right, but still I have a stress. I have asked the God couple of times, but nothing works. I didn't tell him that I'm greater than you. Why should I tell you? They will feel insulted. They will fight with me. That kind of a reasoning we must apply to purify the mind. Get rid of this mind that has created an ego, that has created a false notion. So I said, okay, continue doing it. Maybe my practices will help you. So a lot of stuff. In fact, first time these crazy stuff happened to my mind, which is cleared by my master. And then there is a sense of understanding. Yes, he is right. And when I claim he is right, then I reflected on it and said, yes, reflection removes the doubt. Reflection removes the wrong notion. That my focus should be is who am I? Not on these powers, visions, colors, variety of experiences. That is why Upanishad directly says Asato ma satgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritangamaya. So now see the mantra Asato ma satgamaya. Now question, the mind has a doubt. So if I want to remove the doubt, I question how to connect ignorance to suffering. Because the mind does not allow you to connect ignorance with the suffering because of its past impression. How dare you say, when I live with my honey, I get a pleasure, and you are saying it is ignorance. So the mind has a tremendous amount of the doubt. Why it has a doubt about these principles? Because mind has experienced the pleasure millions of times. So it does not want to believe this, how to connect ignorance to suffering, how to connect knowledge to the realization, how to connect end of suffering in the state of purity of the mind, leading to the knowledge. Upanishad, there are, I would say, 20 principal Upanishads. In fact, Shankaracharya says only 10 principal Upanishad. But in my understanding, there are 20. They are they give us the knowledge, they give us the right perspective. They don't ask you to do any practice. They say, no, settle, allow the mind to settle in the knowledge and see what happens. What happens? You are always in meditation all the time. So when a seeker asks how to connect ignorance to the suffering, I have a pain and you are saying you are in ignorance, it does not match. So that is why we have so many Upanishads and so many ways of the teaching to help us to connect false to the real, ignorance to the wisdom, mortality to immortality. And that is why we have Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasan. Now look back in a different way. Teacher is talking. I won't use the word teaching. Teacher is conveying the knowledge, passing the knowledge of the Eastern wisdom to a seeker. When there is no doubt, when there is no wrong notion, the first step is enough. 10 people are sitting there. I introduce you. Here, meet Michael. Do you have any doubt? Do you have any wrong notion? But when I say you are real self, there is always a doubt. That is why we have to understand and come. That is why you see that. So now why the second step has been made, because there are many doubts that pops up in the mind when we start contemplation and reflection. So these doubts are removed by contemplation and reflection. One thing more is left. My false notion do not leave me easily, because I have accumulated those impressions for millions of births. Not only this, current birth. That is why we have a nididhyasan, so-called the practice. And people say, do you practice? Yes, I practice for 3 hours, but as such there is no practice. It's only a knowledge, it's only an awareness. But for the sake of understanding. You look at how we are building a lesson. Doubt, if there is a doubt, then I do not declare that I am the real self. It happens naturally, instantly. That is why I said, teacher says, you are peace, and my master says, I see you all. Yes, I see you all. But you all are me, and I am sitting, or I am teaching, I am listening, I am guiding you. It gives a great message that I'm of the nature of consciousness. Consciousness is pervading everywhere. But the doubt is there, how can you enter within me, such a 6 feet 5 inches body? Ah, you are consoling me. So there is a false notion, there is a wrong notion. When I am consciousness, then there is no worries. Space is inside and space is outside the pot. And the same space, the space is one. We recognize as a pot space, we recognize as a space outside the pot. The space is same. What I'm talking, we are talking of the subjective reality. We are not talking of the objective reality. There is another challenge that comes, and we do lot of mistake. That is why the purity of the mind is necessary. False notion must go. Okay, you say that I am the real self. Where it is? My mind starts searching outside. How can I search who am I outside? Instant, the mind follows the same pattern, habitual pattern, mechanical pattern. Okay, you are talking about Michael, so I saw the Michael outside. So, where is the real self? So, a non seeker starts searching that real self outside me, not at all possible. And again, it takes time. You're learning and listening, removing the wrong notion and removing the doubt. Then you realize ego is creating a barrier which wants to search the real self outside. Fact is that it is inside me. I am the real self. Ego cannot find it. Okay, when I drop that ego, I'm already the real self. We'll talk about this, what is ego and how the ego works, whether the ego should continue to work or not. As long as the wave claims I am different, where is the water? That is ego. I am wave, where is the water? Oh, you said I am the water, so let me find out where is the water. We don't realize, the wave does not realize the wave itself is water. I am the real self. So, how to resolve this doubt? The master says you have to start with the four connections that I briefly touched last week. Four connections. I'm making many things clear before we start with the topic one of this master. It will become very easy for you. So we said four connections. So then we start examining, when I'm going to the restroom, what are the factors working? When I'm going to the kitchen to have a breakfast, what are the factors working? I don't go to the kitchen when I don't have a feeling of hunger. So hunger is a pain, it will cause the suffering. And by eating the food, I will bring an end to the suffering. So my hunger is a suffering. I can bring an end of suffering of hunger. That is the result by eating pasta, eating food. And third factor is I. How naturally I, that I connected to the kitchen, I connected to the hunger, I connected to the food, and the suffering is gone. Wait, I'm going to the restroom, will return. What is the problem point, pain point? Empty the bladder. Subject matter, restroom. And I, in every text, by every master, openly, directly, or indirectly, talks about four connections. Three factors, and then we connect them together. So that's why they all together is known as the Anubandha Chatushtaya. And this master, which we are going to pick up the topics, he talks in detail about the Anubandha Chatushtaya. Four connections in almost 60 or 70 topics to remove the doubt, to remove all the confusion. So then you are aware any action is done, those four connection comes into play. You all are aware. So you don't get attached to the restroom. Oh, your restroom is very fine. Many people come. Why you have gone there? So we pick up the people's mind easily. We say, okay, you are here. Very good. Thank you. I appreciate it. You had a chance to use it. Three factors and the four connections. We have yet to analyze who is saying that I'm going to the restroom or I'm going to the kitchen. Who is this I? What is his or her level of awareness? What are the past impressions guiding him or her? We are going deeper. So, by the four connections, every master explains these directly. Look at the Patanjali. Patanjali, now how secretly, that is why we have to learn from the teacher. The first sutra is known as Ath Yoga Anushasana. Literal translation is now a discipline of yoga starts. But now means because now you are a seeker, that is why Master says I am teaching you yoga. And for a seeker, one has to know these four connections. Not only these four connections, but also Viveka, Vairagya. You have understood Ath. Sanskrit word Ath, literal translation is now. Because you are a seeker now, I am starting a journey. Now I will teach you A to G, all about yoga. And directly, Patanjali says the same thing. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha, emptiness of the mind is yoga. What you're talking? What about my notions that we have to do a lot of practices and asana and pranayama? The first chapter talks about what we are learning. He doesn't say, okay, come and sit down. Here is the Shanti mantra. 3 times you have to chant it, and then you have to sit in the asana. You cannot do Padmasana Dhuni. You cannot do yoga. He's not saying anything. Yoga Chitta Vritti. Now see the third principle, third sutra. Yoga Chitta Vritti Nidho Nirodha Tada Drashtu Swarupe Avasthanam. What happens when the emptiness of the mind takes place? You realize your real self. 3 sutras, he completed the journey and then he goes on explaining. Why I am giving references to these teachers so that you have a clarity. If the mind has some doubt in one direction, use Patanjali. Mind has a doubt in other direction, use the other format. That is why we have so many teachers teaching the same thing. That is the importance of these four connections. I am going to the restroom, so very clear, literal. I have to empty the bladder because that will cause lot of challenges in the pain if I don't do it. So that I experience the suffering now or in future. So it has the subject matter, restroom, all the 3 factors are connected. If I don't recognize what is the restroom, I cannot go. I cannot recognize the food, so I cannot eat, but I will remain hungry. So, my subject matter, who am I? What is this world outside? Buddha says samsara, and what is this existence? What should be the result when I know who am I? It will bring an end to suffering. It will awaken you to the permanent peace and happiness. So the mind is not able to connect. Who am I with the end of suffering? I know already who am I. Why you are talking to me about who am I? Sometime our non-seeker's mind has a strong reservation. I know who am I. That guy who, with a wrong notion, overpowered his mind that I am a husband, so I will divorce you. Who is paying $20,000 to his divorcee wife?
But for connection, who am I is one, The end of suffering is the true. The Eastern wisdom is knowledge how to get it. And
I.
what is for?
I.
I.
I is a seeker. Basically, there are three factors: I, subject matter, who am I? What is the result of the knowledge that I receive from the Eastern wisdom? Result is end of suffering. So, subject matter, then we have to link I with the subject matter, I with the result, and subject matter with the result. So, the mind is not able to connect the subject matter. You are saying, who am I? When I know who am I, then it will bring an end to the suffering. So, the mind has a lot of doubts, and all those doubts are removed completely, step by step, by the Eastern wisdom. So, for a non seeker, it becomes quite challenging then how to connect. What you said, oh, it will bring an end to the suffering. So, many people tell me that, why don't you give me a practice? You have talked enough. Yes, okay, do the practice. Because when the mind feels bored, it means you are not able to receive that knowledge. Okay, I'll give you the practice, no problem. So, that is why it is my own expression. It's a self awareness program, it is an emotional freedom program, it is a mental transformation program. Now we are going a step deeper. We just talked about the three connections, but I want to add something more. Our mind has a very deep impression that you are an individual, I am an individual. One wave, second wave. It has a deep impression, then this nature, the world outside is different. Okay, that nature gives you the same thing, gives me the same thing. And then there is a God, or supreme consciousness, or existence. That mind is, we have to work with these three factors in our material, personal, professional, social life. There is no doubt about it. Someone knocks the door and you say, is Michael there? You say, no, I'm real self. That will not work in the transactional reality. So I have to use the same thing. False, I have to, in the false perception, I have to use the same false terminology. Now, this master gives you a new perspective. It says you have a basics of Panchkosha, the nature outside, three bodies, prana, life, mind, intellect, thought, feeling, ego, etc. How do you say that? This is body, this is ego, this is mind, this is. So that this is used, Master says the word is used as idam. Why you say this is mouse, matter. This is body, matter. This is mind, matter. This is life force, matter. This is food, matter. This is house, matter. This is car, matter. What is left? Who recognizes this? Consciousness. I am. I'm conscious of this mouse. I'm conscious of the monitor. I'm conscious of the word. So that I is aham, I am. So we have only now two divisions only. Whether you say, here, this is my friend, so I see the body and the mind and I recognize my friend with the body, that is matter. First, to remember this, become aware of this fact. This is house, this is kitchen, this is restroom, this is TV. So when I refer to any object of recognition, that this is the matter. Because I recognize it, so I am consciousness. I am consciousness. Because our mind is so much hypnotized, heavily conditioned by the mind which contains millions of experiences. Mind says, I receive the knowledge by division, separating. I have separated you from me, so this is Michael, this is me. I am conscious of you, so I know you. So whatever I know belongs to the category of this. So this master says there is idam and there is aham. Idam means this, aham, I am. I am is of the nature of consciousness, and this is the nature of matter, inert. Aham in idam. Aham and idam. That aham, I am, is of the nature of consciousness, and this is the nature of the matter. My journey as a seeker is to know who am I. One thing is clear, that I am of the nature of consciousness, even if I realize it or not. What should I do at the beginning of a journey? Another principle comes that is common everywhere in all the teachings by all the masters, which is known as Mangalacharan. Mangalacharan literal translation is invocation, auspiciousness, invocation and auspiciousness. We have many types of auspiciousness. That is why every yoga session begins with some Shanti mantra. Or Namaste. Namaste means I am you and you are me. Literal meaning is that I am you and you are me. To realize this I am you and you are me, we are beginning a journey. So there is no conflict between the seeker and the teacher. We have no enmity, We don't realize the teacher knows more than me, or seeker has no issue of duality and a conflict. So, Namaste is one way of starting the journey. Second way, we say Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina. We start with the universal prayer or invocation. Let everyone be happy, everyone be healthy, everyone be blessed, no one suffer from misery in the world. So I am pointing to that real self, which is absence of suffering, so that my mind should not deviate here and there, it should remain focused on that. That is why we have Mangala Charan, a kind of prayer or a Shanti mantra. We remember the supreme existence at the beginning of every session, so that it will help us to drop all the past impressions of the mind. It will come back again and we will remind. If we are habitual in the journey, it will not work. Habitual means the same mind will constantly crave for something in the world, for pleasure. So many people, wait, let me sit. So what happens, sometimes people practice meditation and then they return and I ask them to share their experiences because I'm watching them, they move their body 50 times. So their excuse is that, because of their physical condition, that's why they were discomfortable, and but I was in peace. I said, very good. Good. No issue. You're doing good. To change that mindset between the matter and the consciousness, we have to do the Mangalacharan. If we are not doing the Mangalacharan, internally, mentally, we can do Namaste mentally. We can do the mantra inside, so that the mind reminds me again and again that my journey is to find out who am I. The result is bring an end to the suffering. For that we have four connection plus fourfold practices of Vivek, Vairagya, Shata Sampatti and Mumukshu. So the seeker asks a question that when you say whatever is known by the mind is matter, inert. So when I go to the temple in a church, are you saying that that God in the church in the temple is also inert? Yes. And the God cannot be of the nature of matter. How simple is? So what do you say? What should I do? Do Mangalacharan inside the heart where the God is sitting. But you say it is the real self. Yes, we will understand real self is the God. There is no God outside. We will also understand later that what is that God personified as the Shiva or Krishna. But at present, we are starting the journey at the highest level of a seeker. So should be very clear. When I am doing the Namaste, the mind looks within. When I am saying Mangalacharan, let everyone be happy. The mind should be directed inside. When I say God or the Supreme Consciousness, mind should. So we will understand this. Master says when the God is already inside, if I am of the nature of the God, why should I go out and pray outside? Let me start the journey by understanding this, and I am. Whatever the mind knows is this, and this is the matter. The existence cannot be outside because I see everything is matter. So I bring an end to all the crazy impressions and experiences of the mind. If I am is conscious, hence the God has to be within me, existence has to be within me. So I pray the existence to complete my journey. I am praying myself. That is of the nature of consciousness. Now, I'm not praying my body, my mind, my intellect. He is a revolutionary master. So many seekers raise doubts and question that are you egoistic? You are talking of that you are praying yourself. And then he resolves, he answers those questions that why I am doing so. Means what? He wants to remove all the doubt. He says, no, remove all the doubt, be very clear. And the moment we are clear, the mind transforms. Mind enters into the highest level of purity. Mind says, I agree with you, you are right, I will never forget. That makes you a highest level of a seeker. I touched the very first fractional part of the topic 1. And when we will see that the seeker, so what this master has done, first he says, then he created a doubt in the form of a question. Then he answers that question. Meet, he is my friend Michael. No, he is not a Michael. No, but he is a Michael. I'll prove that he is a Michael. The same approach this master takes. That wait, I will prove that he is Michael. So Michael, show me your driving license. Look at him. That is one approach. Have you seen Michael with his wife? Yes, I have seen him. Oh, yes, I have seen him. So the person who doesn't believe, he says, yes, I have seen him. And I was sure. His wife told me that I'm Michael's wife. So he uses such a simple reasoning, and he doesn't allow our mind to fall into the past impressions, wrong notions, and the doubt. The mind stays there in that field of awareness, and we realize the real self.